Now, from the 5th floor Cumulus Studios in downtown Dallas, it's time for Inside Real Estate. Here's your host, Michael Kruizinga.
Good morning, Texas. How we doing out there? Welcome to your Sunday morning Inside Real Estate, sports, entertainment, politics, all that fun stuff. Hey, we're here every Sunday morning, 8 to 9 a.m. live. We hope you tune in and catch us. You can also catch all the past episodes on our podcast. By the way, we're in iTunes. We're on SoundCloud. Of course, the website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. You can connect to all of those things there. And, of course, all the stories that we talk about are on the Pinterest page. Sam updates those. And, then, of course, we've got the Twitter, Facebook, and all that jazz as well. Had a couple open houses yesterday down in Granbury Crescent area.
How'd that go?
Very well, actually. People are so nice. Really, they are. Met a lot of great couples yesterday. I met a couple from San Diego thinking about moving to the Granbury area. Met a couple that already moved here from Iowa. They're actually renting in Weatherford right now, and they're about to buy. And met a couple from Stephenville looking to move over to Granbury. Just, a lot of great folks. I met a couple from McKinney, a couple from North Richland Hills yesterday.
From McKinney to...
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, the kids are down on the southwest side, and so they want to be closer to the kids and the grandkids,
Why
so,
not?
Yeah. So met a lot of good people yesterday. Really had a fun day yesterday, and people were just really, fun and talkative yesterday, so enjoyed that. By the way, if you're thinking about buying or selling real estate, highly recommend you give me a call. Go to the website and then catch up with me. We'll get you taken care of. We'll get you hooked up with Terri over at Mortgage and Richard at Insurance and get you taken care of with our excellent A-team right here. By the way, the lineup for today, we've got coming up in segment 2, we're going to be talking insurance with Richard. Perry Cockerell, our legal specialist, is here today, so we're going to do our legal segment today. We've got 3 great cases to talk about. We're going to do that with Perry. And then, of course, Terri, we're going to do some mortgage talk. And then last in the show, we got our sports segment. So hope you stay tuned for that. We've got the co-author of the new book, QB, My Life Behind the Spiral. This is the Steve Young story, the all-pro quarterback. The co-author is going to be with us. So we're looking forward to talking to Jeff Benedict later in the show. And by the way, Jeff Benedict, he's written over a dozen books, contributes to Sports Illustrated, very well accomplished writer, and he's actually done a lot of work in the field of writing books about athletes and crime, as well as athletes and crimes against women. And so I'm interested to talk to him about that and that sort of rampant issue that's in collegiate and pro sports. So we're going to talk to him a little bit about that, as well as the new book later in the show. So there's the lineup for today. I wanted to mention this. I have had a horrible experience with an insurance company called Elephant Insurance. About a month ago, I was out and about showing houses with the client. My truck was parked in front of the property, minding its own business, and it got sideswiped while I was inside the house showing the client. This was about a month ago before I, went on the last trip. And, luckily the lady came in. She said, "Hey, I sideswiped you. I'm so sorry." Totally admitted it. And thank goodness she did. That was really nice of her. And, not to just hit and run. No problem with the fault, being hers, reported the claim right away. And it's a fender bender. They hit my door, and hit the front quarter panel and then the bumper and whatnot, and hit my tire. And so anyway, horrible experience with Elephant Insurance. Horrible. First of all, I don't get, I report the thing right away that same day. They want to get with me later in the weeks, like 5 days later, to send somebody over. But then they come back and tell me, "Oh, well, we don't think we're going to need a staff appraiser on us. Go ahead and send us the estimate." I go get an estimate, and, of course, I go to AutoNation, which is a national chain, by the way. It's not like Bob's, repair.
Well, it wouldn't have mattered if you went to Bob's anyway.
I didn't want to go to one of their preferred, because Service Keen, in my opinion, does a horrible job. cheap out on parts, and then they half the time they'll charge you for something, or charge the insurance company for something, and then they'll use the same part back up under there, which is a part you never see. I've had this experience personally. I'm not a fan of them at all.
Right.
So I went to, a dealership, AutoNation, and I knew they were, I want it done right, and I want it done with the right parts, and I don't want to get gypped. And so of course, that estimate's going to be more than going to, Service King, which really Service King's like Bob's Repair, in my opinion now. That's my personal experience with them. I am not a fan at all with those guys.
I take it you don't like them?
Not at all.
I'm getting that too, Richard.
That's the vibe. So get the estimate, send it in. Nobody at Elephant. By the way, there's nobody. You can not talk to anybody at Elephant Insurance in the state of Texas. They're in Virginia.
Yes.
So.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Good luck getting a hold of somebody over there. By the way, they don't answer their phones. Nobody knew exactly what was what. And I finally get a hold of somebody, and they're like, "Oh yeah, well your estimate was under $2,500. They'll just cut you the check. It should be out here shortly." Okay, well, that's great. You sent your estimate in already. Get another call back. Oh, well, we need some pictures. Not a problem. Zap those pictures right over to you. I'm doing my due diligence. I'm doing all my work for them. No problem. And then, another week or so later goes by, and they're like, oh, yeah, well, we are actually going to have to get that staff person to come out and see you.
Wow.
And I was like, but you told me you didn't have to, because I guess it's under 2,500, and I guess that's a magic cap number for them. And oh no, well we need to send it because the estimate was for $2,460. We thought it was like suspicious that it was only $30 under 2,500. And first of all, I didn't know there was some magic $2,500 number, and I don't know if that's insurance wide or just with their internal policy, but it was like suspicious, like, oh, what are you trying to do? I don't know, get my vehicle repaired.
How dare you?
How dare I? So anyway, send them the pictures in there. And so they're like, okay, well, we're going to send an appraiser out. And I'm like, okay, but I can see the handwriting on the wall. This is about a month gone by now.
Is your vehicle drivable?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. But, and I called in with these guys right away saying it's pulling horribly to the left, and I'm getting excessive vibration, in the wheel.
Sure.
And so, I want this dealt with. So, I'm maybe doing some more damage by driving it, but it's a truck, it should be able to take the pounding, even though I shouldn't be doing that. But, in any case, I said, okay, well, here, I see what's going on here. I'm guessing you guys are going to try to gyp me, And so I was like, we're going to meet at the dealership. Because if you got some sort of issue with their estimate, then you can deal with them. The guy was 35 minutes late. He was supposed to meet me at 11. And, of course, I'm there 10 minutes early. But he was 35 minutes late. 11:35. I try calling them at about 20 after, trying to get a hold of them. Of course, you can't get a hold of anybody over there. Absolutely ridiculous. So, you know what? There's a great story for you folks. Now, of course, I don't have Elephant Insurance. That's who the driver who hit my vehicle was insured with. So if you've had a bad experience with Elephant Insurance or any insurer out there at all, think twice about who you got and who you want to take care of you, when something happens. Think about this, folks. This is a small fender bender, $2,400 or so worth of damage. And, the fault has been admitted to by, the party, and we're over a month now down the road, and I'm still having this issue. Is that the type of service you want from, your insurance? Now, of course, if you get involved with somebody and they have that insurance, it's, kind of out of your hands. But, if you've got that brand out there of insurer, you might want to think twice about making a change, because if you haven't had a claim with them, good luck to you if you're going to have a claim with Elephant Insurance. Oh, my God.
Well, that's the reason I tell everyone, make sure you get everything in writing up front, because having a phone conversation with people is not the way to go, because then it's a he said, she said.
Mm-hmm.
If you have it in writing, this is what you're going to do. These are the steps. Okay, fantastic. I've done these. And move on.
Yeah. Unreal. I've never had a fender bender where it took that long to get the thing dealt with.
You've never I've had one where it was a local company, and I'm not going to say their name, but it was mind-numbingly just frustrating. I was pulling my hair out because I couldn't fax it, I couldn't call them, I couldn't email them. They wanted everything snail mail.
Who does that anymore?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
But it was their way of slowing down the process
Absolutely.
and not having to pay, even though the other person admitted fault, because it's kind of hard to be my fault when I'm stopped at a red light and I get hit from behind.
Right.
But
yeah.
My dad's going through a similar situation.
I was so mad. And finally, anytime that comes up, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to get my legal counsel involved. And it's amazing how fast the wheels start turning.
Amazing.
Because they know that the amount that they're going to pay out is just going to skyrocket once you start getting legal counsel.
You didn't have an obligation to fax them anything. They're not They're required to investigate the claim, and they weren't doing it.
Unreal.
So you didn't really have to do that. I've seen that before.
Unreal. So just, hey, for you folks out there that maybe have elephant insurance, you've never had a claim experience with them, you might want to think twice. And so, hey, you might as well call our expert of the radio show right here on Inside Real Estate Radio, Richard Tonic over at Goosehead Insurance. His website, richardtagency.com, by the way. So you might want to, check in with him. Just a horrible experience. Good luck if you have a claim with Elephant. Good luck getting a hold of anybody in Virginia, by the way. There's nobody here in Texas. In my opinion, they should not be doing business in the state of Texas. Personal opinion. Folks, we're going to take a short break, then we're going to come on back. See you in a few. When it comes to your mortgage and refinance needs, trust Terry Wagner, our resident mortgage expert on Inside Real Estate Radio. With a wide range of financing options and competitive interest rates, you can trust Terry for a fast and reliable loan process with superior service. Go to terrywagner.com or 469-644-4818 today. Supreme Lending is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID number 207089, 6730 Horizon Road, Suite B, Heath, Texas, 75032. SML Mortgage Banker Registration, Residential Mortgage Loan Originator. Folks, it's Mike Kruizinga here with Inside Real Estate Sports Entertainment on 570 AM KLIF. Did you know that virtually all of us will experience a fall in the bathtub at some point in our life? Well, statistically, it's true. And as we get older, a fall in the bathtub can spell disaster, as we just can't recover the same as we did in our younger years. Don't let something as silly and preventable as a bathtub fall put an end to all your special plans you have lined up for your golden years. Invest in a Hydrojet walk-in bathtub. Made in the USA and with the lowest step in the industry, Hydrojet walk-in tubs has your best interest at heart. With no commission sales staff or huge warehouse overhead, they build and sell direct to you, saving you thousands of dollars over their competitors. Call Randy, my friend and owner of Hydrojet Walk-In Tubs, at 855-980-8827 or go to hydrojetwalkintubs.com. You'll be able to speak with Randy directly, and make sure to mention you heard about it on the radio. And for you veterans out there, there's a grant available for you to cover the majority of the cost of a walk-in tub, making it darn near free. Call Randy at 855-980-8827 or go to hydrojetwalkintubs.com today.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, we are back. Time for some insurance talk. We got Richard Tonica, Goosehead Insurance. Website, richardtagency.com, richardtagency.com. How we doing today?
We're doing fantastic. I got my little partner with me today.
Hello, little partner.
You're supposed to say hello.
Hi.
Hello.
This is my boss. She's the reason that I work, and she's the one that actually gives me pointers on how I'm doing about everything.
Well, very good. Nice to have you there, little miss thing. Well, let's come on and get into it here, Mr. Richard.
All right.
All right.
What do you want to ask?
What are the top reasons you should use the Tonica Agency for your insurance?
So
very nice intro.
Very nice.
What we wanted to talk about today was the reason that you would use our agency as opposed to a captive agency.
Yeah,
because
there we go.
It's the same old thing of independent versus captive agent, where you'll always hear me say that we're going to save you time and money. So the first thing about it is saving time. You're not going to have to shop when you're dealing with us because we're going to take care of it. We're going to shop over 20 different carriers, where if you went out and you took the time to go through all the stuff about your insurance with 25 different people, not only are they going to get 25 different proposals, Right now, in 6 months or a year, you're going to get those same 25 different proposals all over again, and they're going to be calling you all the time. I treat everyone the way I want my family to be treated. And so going in, and I'm not going to send you 25 different proposals. I'm going to send you the top 2 or 3 that fit your lifestyle needs and budget. But going through and making sure that we have the right coverage. And
I'm losing you a little bit there on the audio.
Well, this is the first time I've ever been on the radio. So saving time is us doing all the shopping for you where you don't have to do it. The second thing is we're going to save you money. We're not going to do this and I was talking last week that if you ever have an agent that gives you a quote and then you call them or tell them, oh, this is too much, and then I can do better, and then they come back and give you a different quote, all they've done is either taken coverage off or increase your deductibles. We don't have to do that.
Good. Yeah.
The reason that we're able to save you money is because that we are shopping 20, 25 different carriers, and everyone is going to rate everyone differently. And so company A, you may be the ideal person for them this year. Next year, you may not. And company B or C may be looking for people like you. And it's an ever-evolving thing where different carriers are looking for a different risk or a different type of person or a kind of person that they find most appealing at that time, and they're going to give them better rates. And so when we're doing this, that's what we're looking at is what are the coverages, and then what are the price. We always look at coverage first because it doesn't matter how good the price is. If you don't have a good policy, it doesn't matter how good that price is because it's not going to do you any good.
Right.
The third thing is we're going to give you personalized attention. We don't have just one policy. We don't just have a few endorsements that we can add to each policy. It really is. You wouldn't go into a grocery store and have a grocery cart already filled up and, oh, here you go. This is your option. You wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that, but all too often that's what people do. If you're with one of the big 3, they have one policy. If they say that they have multiple policies, what they're really doing is they have that one policy. And again, all they're doing is taking off coverage to give you a better price at different options.
Right.
That's it. It's the one policy though.
Yeah, it's not like at the dealership and they're going back and negotiating with the manager boss behind the glass. It's the same. It's the same vehicle. They're just taking parts off. So what if it was that same vehicle and they're like, okay, well now let's take off the tires. No tires for these guys. Okay, no, take off the steering wheel.
Oh, you're selling me a Yugo.
That's what it is. It's just they're taking everything off.
Oh, I agree. It's funny to me that so many people will shop the same thing over and over again, and just saying it can't be the right policy for everybody. It's just not. You're looking at different options. Everyone's lifestyle is different, and everyone's needs are different, and that's the reason that we have so many different carriers out there.
Right.
And I want a long-term relationship. How am I able to do that? By having my best. I don't work for an insurance company. I work for my customers. And so I do what's in the best interest for my customers. I have a fiduciary responsibility to every carrier that I represent. But my first thing is being focused on the customers and having that long-term relationship. The only way that you can have that is to do what's best for them year in, year out, claim after claim, and making sure that they're taken care of. And that's our number one job. And so this year, if company A, B, or C is the best, I propose company A, B, or C. Next year, if C, D, and E are the best, then that's the ones that I propose. But it's shopping, and it's always doing what's best for my customers.
Right.
And going through and looking at, has your life changed? If it has, how does that affect your insurance? Are there certain things that we need to look at taking off or adding? It's that simple. It's just knowing you as a person and not a number, where it's our livelihood. I mean, it's my family's livelihood that making sure that you're taken care of so that you stay with us for your lifetime.
Absolutely. Well, the difference, folks, is that, Richard cares about you. It's the power of competition, the power of choice, that he can shop these 25 companies to get you the best price, best policy, most importantly, because the best price doesn't matter if you're not covered when you need it.
Exactly.
And that's hugely important. And Richard's going to take care of you. Look, the website is richardtagency.com, richardtagency.com. Call Richard for all of your insurance needs. Folks, we've got to take a short break, and then we're going to come on back. See you in a few. Far from the shores of home, 2 African-American U.S. Army privates fight for their lives on the battlefronts of World War II. The first Black war correspondents fight to cover the perspective of the black soldier. The novel A Private War weaves all this and more into an epic World War II era story of friendship, conflict, religion, and redemption. Get a copy of Private War, a novel by Perry Cockerell today, now available on Amazon.com. And tune in regularly to Inside Real Estate Sundays, 8 to 9 a.m. to hear Perry Cockerell, attorney at law, as he provides expert analysis of the latest and greatest in legal news.
Living in the DFW area, expansive clay soil and extreme weather conditions play havoc on homes' foundation. But thankfully, you can turn to PermaPure Foundation Repair of Texas, who has successfully repaired over 20,000 properties and counting in the DFW area. With the most trusted, tried and true foundation repair methods, trust the professional staff of PermaPure Foundation Repair to take care of your property, and most repairs are backed by a lifetime transferable warranty. Mention Inside Real Estate Radio when calling PermaPure at 214-637-1444 or when booking online at permapure.com for your Inside Real Estate Radio discount.
When it comes to your mortgage and refinance needs, trust Terri Wagner, our resident mortgage expert on Inside Real Estate Radio. With a wide range of financing options and competitive interest rates, you can trust Terri for a fast and reliable loan process with superior service. Go to terriwagner.com or 469-644-4818 today. Supreme Lending is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID number 207089, 6730 Horizon Road, Suite B, Heath, Texas, 75032. SML Mortgage Banker Registration, Residential Mortgage Loan Originator.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, we are back. Welcome to the show. InsideRealEstateRadio.com is the website. InsideRealEstateRadio.com is the website. Hey, it's time for our legal analysis segment. We've got Perry Cockerell, attorney. By the way, his website is perryjcockerell.com, perryjcockerell.com. And of course, he is the author of A Private War, which is available on Amazon.com, or go to his website for information on that book, which is a great book. How we doing, Perry?
Hey, Mike, doing great. Nice to be back.
Good to see you again.
See all of you.
And so I know we've got some great cases to go over for the folks out there, and so let's hit it.
3 good cases, interesting cases from Tyler, Austin, Fort Worth Court of Appeals. All involve the same issue. That's when you buy a piece of property and the seller is making false representations to you. They all, at least the first 2, just have representations that are just not true. They're red flags. And in the first 2 cases, if the parties had an attorney, things would have been different. But the legislature protects sales of real estate from false representations, and that's just when somebody makes a false statement, the person relies on it, and they enter into a real estate contract. And when that happens, the legislature allows that party to recover legal fees. Very unusual. And some other real estate type suits, the parties do not get legal fees. So there's an effort to protect people from fraud in real estate.
Right.
So these 3 cases, the first 2 have false representations, and they just have such red flags in them that it's so obvious. The first one was a lady that just had a home that she couldn't pay for the mortgage, and so a man comes in and he says that he'll sell the home and everything above the mortgage he'll keep as a commission. Okay, that's a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like giving him the entire equity.
Yeah, a little suspicious.
An attorney would have stopped this right there. Second thing is she signs 5 documents, but she didn't see all of the documents. That's a red flag. That would never have happened at a title company. Mm-hmm. The other is the documents referred to an auction buyer. She thought that the man was going to put it up for auction. Actually, he put his name in there as the purchaser. Red flag. The other is the document referred to him giving her a note for about $350,000. There was no such note. Another red flag. She also said, I want to take these to my attorney. And he said, well, if you do that, then there's not going to be a transaction. That's a red flag.
That's a huge red flag.
Isn't it just unbelievable that this Still
Yeah.
it goes on.
Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you just walk away at that point?
I don't understand it.
You know, and there are people out there that are in desperate situations with their home, and particularly those who maybe, are advancing in age and become, at that age where the faculties aren't necessarily all there, or they get a little bit desperate. They'll do things, and there are people out there that prey on these people. Unfortunately, there are people that run ads on talk radio that will buy your ugly house, this, that, and the other. We're investors. We're this or that. Unfortunately, so many of them prey on the elderly and those who have maybe inherited, an ugly house, if you will, and we'll take advantage of those types of people. Yeah,
Exactly what happened here. And what I've seen is some will come in and say, we'll transfer title into a land trust agreement. Notice that's another investor type approach. But nevertheless, she filed suit, and the court rescinded this, thank goodness. And I was surprised that the legal fees were only $13,000 in this suit. I'm a little amazed at that. And it went up on appeal, and it was a very hard case. The man made it very hard on the trial court. He claimed disabilities, he claimed he couldn't hear, and then he appealed. So that cost them money, and there's no record of the legal fees on appeal too. So this was a loss all around for this person. But clearly, an attorney would have never gone much further.
Yeah, horribly unfortunate.
Now let's get to the.
And there were no realtors involved in this
realtors.
case, and so again, it's just another reason why if you're not going to use an attorney, in your real estate transaction, of course you want to use a realtor. We have codes of ethics, these things called ethics. We're moral people, by and large, anyway. Well, some of us are.
Yeah.
There's 15,000 agents in the DFW area. I would say a lot of them maybe don't, but I do, so you can call me instead. I'm sorry. Keep going, Perry.
The second case is really interesting. You really don't want to see a mother and daughter fight with each other in court, and this is a case of where the mother is giving one story and the daughter is giving another story, completely different factual statements or versions of what really went on in the case. But the mother transferred some property to the daughter, so there's a warranty deed. Now, the daughter filed suit claiming that the mother, that she didn't sign this that this document, the transfer, or rather, was by fraud. And the daughter actually the mother transferred to the daughter, but then the daughter transferred it back. And the daughter claimed that transfer was fraud. She didn't sign that. She claimed that she intended to sign another document. And that document was a document that would have given the mother some money to leave some property in Colorado. So you're talking about two separate documents, one transferring a piece of real estate and the other transferring some money to leave some property in Colorado. Completely separate factual
Totally different
scenario. It's hard to figure out, but nevertheless, it was a very contested case. Lots of testimony going back and forth between, did the mother really transfer it to the daughter and then the daughter transfer it back? And ultimately, the mother won here, the court. And it was really based on the fact that the deed said it was a deed. The deed transferred it to the daughter. So the court didn't really have to look too much at the testimony. A deed is what it is. And so there was so they affirmed, they found that the daughter had validly transferred this property back to the mother, and it turned out the mother had actually owned it in the past and had transferred the daughter. It had been transferred several different times back and forth to each other, and the mother was trying to get it back and eventually won. So that's another.
Very odd. Was this a case of, was the property paid off and they were just transferring it back and forth, or was this something where maybe they were selling it back and forth to each other, trying to reduce property taxes, that type of thing?
I don't think so. I think the mother was in Colorado, and the daughter wanted money from her for living there, and she was transferring this property to pay for that. And somehow they decided to transfer it back at some point, but very difficult, strange case. But it just shows that, she signed a deed. The deed's valid. The fraud here, what's the false representation? Well, she said, I didn't sign that deed. I signed a contract over here, not that. So, but this is another case of a title company, an attorney. None of this would have ever happened.
So this was, again, parties handling real estate transactions on their own, which is obviously ripe for issues.
Now, the third one is now this shows you where there are attorneys. The documents are well done, and but it's just a family that bought a home from a builder. They built a home in 2005. 2 years later, soil erosion starts happening, and then in 2010, then the home starts having cracks in the foundation. Okay, the purchasers sue for negligence, breach of warranty, breach of contract, deceptive trade practices, fraud, all kinds of things. Statutory fraud, the same one we have here, false representation. Now, the difference here was there was no representation.
Okay.
So you can still have a fraud if there's an omission. So the other two involve verbal representations. Now, what happens if there's an omission in this case? That can still be fraud. However, and the case was won. It didn't even go to trial. Went to summary judgment. It was won because there was just no evidence that the builder knew that there was an issue of soil erosion when the home was built in 2005.
Right.
So what I've seen in some other cases, like a pool, someone will sell a home and the pool start leaking after they buy it. Someone will sell a home and it has a foundation problem that comes up after. But nothing's said, nothing's disclosed. In those particular cases, what you have to do is prove that the seller knew there was a problem before you sold it.
Right.
And if you can do that, then you have some recourse. So here they were not able to prove that the builder knew anything about the soil erosion before the home was sold.
And that can be, in these types of cases, it can be hard to prove that a seller, even if it's a builder, knew of something. A lot of times you have a homeowner that lived there for 30 years and, a lot of homeowners don't have a lot of mechanical knowledge, and they may not know of a certain issue, in the house. They just don't.
They don't.
So it can be very hard to prove, unless maybe they've brought somebody out to look at it and you can prove that their attention's been drawn to it, something of that nature.
That's what your inspection is supposed to bring out. That's why you inspect it.
Right.
The disclosure statements now are so tight that it's pretty hard to get something by the seller nowadays. There's some ways, but
well, and just some great cases, great information, and great reasons why you should use real estate agents in your transactions and or attorneys in your transactions to prevent from this type of issue. That's what we're here for. We're here to serve you, and don't get into an issue selling it on your own. It's just it's not worth it. And in so many cases, particularly with for sale by owners that are selling a home, without an agent, there's no buffer zone in between who the buyer comes after for non-disclosure or for any other issues, with the contract, et cetera, et cetera. So they're coming directly after you. And that's why you want to be protected, have real estate agents as part of the transaction and or attorneys for sure. Folks, another great segment with Perry Cockerell. PerryJCockerell.com is the website. PerryJCockerell.com is the website, our legal expert. Folks, we're going to take a short break. Come on back. The Richard Tonica Insurance Agency in Arlington has nearly unlimited resources when it comes to getting you the best insurance rates and policies for home, auto, and more. As part of the Goosehead Insurance brand, you, the consumer, have the power of choice through the Richard Tonica Insurance Agency Network. Richard can quote over 20 A-rated companies to find the best fit for you, the best policy at the best price. Call Richard today at 817-286-2002. It's the Richard Tonica Goosehead Insurance Agency, 817-286-2002.
As News and Information 570 KLIF continues to grow, who better to represent this powerful heritage brand than our listeners? This is KLIF Local Sales Manager Steve Holm. If you have a successful track record in outside sales with a burning desire to be the best, I'd like to discuss a unique career opportunity we have on our sales team. Email your resume to steve.holm@cumulus.com. That's steve.holm@cumulus.com. Cumulus is an equal opportunity employer.
KLIF News and Information 570. Every day we keep track of the kinds of news stories that matter, stories that make a difference. We're doing it all from the nerve center of Dallas, Victory Park, right next to the American Airlines Center. With our 24-hour newsroom, reporters on the scene of breaking news, and talk programs that bring perspective, we build our broadcast day with you in mind. We hope you'll spend part of your day with us. News and Information 570, KLIF.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey, folks, we are back inside real estate, sports, entertainment, politics. Time for some mortgage talk with our resident expert in all things mortgage, Terri Wagner. And by the way, hang tight for our sports segment coming up later in the show. We've got Jeff Benedict, the co-author of QB, My Life Behind the Spiral, the story of Steve Young. So hang tight for that sports segment a little bit later. Terri, how we doing?
I'm great. How are you, Mike?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Good to be seen.
What's going on in the mortgage world?
Well, I thought maybe that I would cover questions that you should ask your mortgage lender.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. So when you call me or someone else, preferably me.
That's right.
That's what we want, right?
It would be a huge mistake if they did not call you.
Absolutely. So one of the first questions is to ask them what their process is. How do you process my file? Will I have a pre-approval or a pre-qualification? We've talked about that before and the difference. And just to go over that again, a pre-qualification is me or a mortgage professional takes a look at your documentation, your credit report, what you're hoping to purchase, and kind of the scenario that you're setting forth, and determining from that whether it looks like we can get you a loan approval. A pre-approval is for us to put a full credit file together with the to-be-determined property address, and we submit it into the underwriter, and it goes through a full underwrite without a subject property, without a contract.
Okay.
That's a pre-approval.
Yeah, big difference.
We can do those, but in most cases, it's not necessary to do that, and it just adds time to the transaction, to the turn time on the transaction. So it's not necessary, but we can. Here recently, I've had quite a few customers who want to get pre-approved before we send them out looking at a house, and that's okay. We'll do that too. How do we communicate with our buyers? Is our system safe? How will they get us their documentation? Ask those questions, because like you were talking about the elephant insurance, you don't want to deal with someone who you can't sit down in front of if you need to.
Right.
We're local. We're right here. I will drive wherever I need to meet a borrower, because I believe it's important to meet them face to face so that they can see, yes, I'm a real girl. I'm here, and I'm not just some figment of their imagination off in another state.
Yeah, some random 800 number somewhere.
Right. So it's important to know how you communicate with us, how we can exchange documentation.
Yep, absolutely.
What is the down payment requirement? Just like Richard was talking about, excuse me, all the different scenarios that you would go through to find the right policy, same thing happens with your loan. Not any file is exactly the same as the last one. So every situation, every scenario is going to be a little bit different. So from that, we take the complete full application, which should happen during our initial conversation. And from that, we determine what loan type is going to be better for you, what the down payment requirement is going to be for you, what the turn time is going to be for you, all kinds of different questions that you can ask within that one question. Right. What's my down payment?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we participate in down payment assistance? We've talked about that so many times. It's still a great, great program. We help so many borrowers into a home just because they don't have their full down payment.
Right.
Doesn't mean, it's still a great market for people to buy a house. Interest rates are still incredibly low. Yeah. If you don't have all the money set aside, hopefully we can help you with that with just one of the down payment assistance programs that we have.
Yeah, we're still getting people into homes, with little to no down. Now some areas are more competitive, a little bit harder to find that property that we can get the seller to bite on this type of an offer. But in so many areas, we're still doing that big time.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you need down payment assistance, call Terri for sure.
Right. And then ask, a lot of people want to ask the very first question, what's the interest rate? Well, that's, again, mortgage loan officers, we used to get paid based on what your interest rate was. We don't any longer. So your interest rate basically is what you want it to be. You've got par interest rate, which is no credit, no charge. It's just what the market dictates. That's what your interest rate is for your credit score and your situation. Then you've got premium pricing, where you can go up a little bit on the interest rate and get some money back to help with some of your closing costs. And then you've got discount points. So if you want that super low interest rate, this is a house you're going to be in for a while, and you want the lowest possible interest rate there is, we can look at buying it down. Those are discount points.
Right.
So the interest rate is what you want it to be based on where the market is.
Yeah. And interest rates are so great right now. It's nearly free money.
It is.
It's the time to buy. There's no doubt about it.
It really is. And so then when we determine what loan type's going to be best for you, what's some of the guidelines that I'm going to have to meet? Am I going to have to meet some reserve guidelines? Do I have to have a particular amount of money in the bank? Those are the questions you want to make sure that you don't leave up to your underwriter or up to your loan officer to determine at a later period that we have a problem. So are there some requirements? Do you have investment properties? Because if you do, there may be some additional requirements there. Be sure and talk about all of that with your loan officer and make sure that they have all of your information as well. Right. It does need to be a two-way conversation, okay?
Right.
It doesn't just need to be me asking all the questions. You need to be asking questions and providing information back. And I'm gonna get a little bit on a soapbox here. Don't think you're going to hide something from your loan officer.
I always love that. Oh, no, we've never done this. Well, your history says you did.
You did.
We're going to find out.
We're going to find it. I'm like a little investigator.
That's right. We have access to Clinton's FBI, and they will do whatever we say.
No, we don't. No, we do not.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
I don't want access to that.
But tell Terri the truth, because guess what? If you do, we're going to figure out how to get you into home.
Well, and then we know what box to think outside of.
Yeah.
If I have the whole story, I can determine which direction and which turn to make so that we can get you into a home.
Yeah, I mean, and as a consumer out there, you are not, well-versed on everything that there is to do in mortgage. You can be a well-informed buyer to a degree, but you're never going to have the knowledge and experience that Terri has. She needs to help guide you to the best place, and she cares about where the best place is for you, the best type of loan product with all their vast array of loan products. She can get you to the right place.
Absolutely. Yeah, I enjoy what I do. I like being able to help the customers get into the right mortgage, not just get into a mortgage, but get into the right mortgage.
The right one.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep, absolutely. Folks, TerriWagner.com is the website, TerriWagner.com. Go to the website, you can fill out an application there. And, of course, you can catch up with Terri by phone, text, otherwise. Give her a shout. Folks, we're going to take a short break. Come on back for our sports segment. See you in a few.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you A, line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No. Sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, get spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time blow drying, more time texting.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have
Ta-da! Twinsies!
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org/TX. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
If you have a timeshare, this time of year you're probably thinking about those maintenance fees coming due. Hi, I'm Karen Holloway, owner of Lone Star Transfer, located right here in the DFW area. Before you pay your maintenance fees, call us for a free consultation, 972-722-3166. We'll get you out of your timeshare and put a stop to those maintenance fees. Guaranteed. 972-722-3166 or LoneStarTransfer.com.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, we are back. Inside Real Estate, sports, entertainment, politics, the whole shebang right here. InsideRealEstateRadio.com is the website. InsideRealEstateRadio.com is the website. Hey, time for our sports segment, and we've got on the line a extremely well-accomplished author, Jeff Benedict. He is the co-author of QB, My Life Behind the Spiral, the Steve Young book. Jeff, are you on the line with us?
Good morning. Good to be here.
Good morning. Thanks for coming on the show. Super excited to talk to you, author of over a dozen books, many in the sports world, a contributor to Sports Illustrated. Excited to talk to you. I'd love to talk some about the current book and then, of course, some of the work you've done on athletes and crime and your other books, and as well as athletes and crimes against women and how that's kind of rampant in collegiate and professional sports. But let's start off with the current book, working with Steve Young. Great book, and his story is such a great story, and there's so many things, if you're a sports fan out there, that you forget about. And, you forget about that, Steve Young, went to the USFL to start with, and he had that huge contract, et cetera. And so, get into the genesis of the book and working with Steve Young and some of those things.
Well, the genesis for me was about 5 years ago. I was writing a cover story for Sports Illustrated about a kid from Chicago named Jabari Parker, who was going to be the first African-American Mormon drafted into the NBA. And my editor at Sports Illustrated wanted me to go back and find a couple of prominent Mormon athletes that had faced the same decision Jabari faced, whether to go on a Mormon mission or not at age 19. And I specifically was asked to go interview Steve Young, who didn't serve a mission. And so I interviewed Steve for the magazine, and at the end of the interview, he surprised me big time by asking me if I'd be interested in helping him write his life history. And the impetus for him to do this was that Steve played his whole career as a bachelor, which is really unusual in the NFL. And then right when he retired, he got married, and then he and his wife have gone on to have 4 kids, but none of his children ever saw him play. And so it's like there's this other life that their dad had that they didn't know anything about. And he wanted to get it all documented and written down. And so that's what he hired me to do. His original thinking wasn't to make it, to publish a book out of it. It was going to be something really intimate and private just for his kids. But as I started writing it, the stories that I was discovering, and I followed Steve, so it's not like I wasn't familiar with his career, but
right.
There were so many things about his personal life that nobody knew. I was learning things about him that even his parents didn't know. And I just thought, I kept saying to him, this story is so good and so, I think, so inspirational that you should really let everyone read it. And he resisted that for a number of years, actually. And it wasn't until last year that he finally warmed up to the idea of maybe letting the rest of the world read what we had written for his kids.
Yeah, and he's a very private guy. I'm a huge fan, and so many things in here that we just as fans we don't know because he was so private. He had such a this really is a great story because he went through a tough time. So many coaches said that he couldn't play. He didn't have a good spiral. He was a running.
He's a lefty.
He's a lefty, exactly. And he started at the bottom of the line. He's 8th in line at one point. But even so he gets USFL. Okay, that tanks. Then he goes to the Bucks. Has 2 horrible seasons at the Bucks, and people forget about that. I mean, when I'm thinking Steve Young, I was a huge fan of his. All I remember is the great 49er days, but you forget about early on, the Joe Montana, but even you forget about Bono. So get into some of that.
Well, the thing that was most interesting to me is when you look at his trajectory from when he started playing football, which was in Greenwich, Connecticut, a town that's never produced an NFL player. Here comes this kid out of Greenwich who was an option quarterback. He never threw. Greenwich ran the ball all the time, and it was really because he was such a good runner, they never had to pass. When he got to BYU, they were a quarterback factory, and they had Jim McMahon, who at the time was the number one quarterback in the country, and Steve was 8th on the depth chart. I mean, most schools don't even have 8 quarterbacks, but BYU did.
Right.
And his coach came out and told him, you'll never play quarterback here. And they were going to move him to defense. In fact, they had moved him to defense. And the other thing that's lurking in the background, and this is one of the revelations in the book, is Steve had a severe case of separation anxiety as a child and as a teenager and as a college student. It was undiagnosed. So at the time, no one knew what it was. He didn't know what it was. But he just going to college was a death-defying thing for him. He never unpacked his duffel bags his freshman year. He lived out of a duffel bag because every week he thought he wanted to quit and go home. And this was something that actually stayed with him through college, through the USFL, through Tampa Bay. It wasn't until he was in San Francisco, and you mentioned Bono, it wasn't until the Joe Montana, Steve Bono years that Steve finally went and saw a doctor and figured out what was really wrong, what was going on. And so when you talk about revelations in a book, for a lot of athletes and celebrities, those kinds of revelations are embarrassing because they involve behavioral things that are, inappropriate or whatever. Steve didn't have anything like that. He had something called anxiety that actually a lot of people have, but everyone's afraid to admit they have it because they think no one else has it. And Steve had it. He had it severely. And I think one of the most kind of powerful things in the book is when he finally rises to the top in San Francisco, what no one knows is what he really had to overcome. It wasn't just Joe Montana or Tampa Bay or the USFL. It was this fear factor that he worked through, which I think is one of the most powerful parts of his story.
Yeah, and people don't understand how real that really is. And I think, in this book, you guys put it in perspective that this is so real. People have to deal with this, and that what he had to deal with over his lifetime. But also doing that in such a stressful environment as professional sports at all, much less the NFL, and then with a high-profile team with the 49ers and then coming in with Montana. Just this whole story was just really amazing. It's an amazing read, and everybody really needs to grab this book and read it seriously. Just an amazing read. Let's kind of move forward a little bit let's talk about a topic that is really important. I've hammered this home on the show before. So many campuses, college campuses, have a real issue with athletes and violence against women, and even at the professional level. Why is this such a problem nationally, particularly at the collegiate level, but even at the professional level? And why are we allowing it? Why are scouts picking up kids both at the collegiate and the professional level that have histories of violence against women, but histories of violence at all?
Well, first of all, I think that when you say it's a problem with athletes on campuses across the country, the real issue is that violence against women, period, is a problem on campuses throughout the country, not just involving athletes, but just involving men in general. There are too many young men on college campuses, particularly when alcohol is involved, that take criminal liberties with women. Of course, it's complicated when the women have consumed alcohol too, which makes it harder to prove these cases. But this is a widespread problem across the country. It's not exclusive or unique to athletes. The reason the athlete part gets more attention is because they are athletes, but secondly, because when athletes do it, they tend to get a little better treatment in the criminal justice system than some of the other guys who do this. One of the reasons for that is because athletes have these what I call safety nets around them, and there's this whole system that's in place to protect and keep these guys eligible to play. And when it's one thing when you have an athlete who's struggling academically or is having some issues that involve something to do with school, but when it involves criminal behavior against a woman on a campus, that to me is one of those times where coaches and the other infrastructure that's around them should not be used to insulate them from consequences. I think at the pro level, it just gets to another it's almost ratcheted up even more. I mean, most pro athletes, the overwhelming majority of pro athletes are not involved in the kind of behavior you're talking about. It's the few that are, and they garner a tremendous amount of attention, but partly because what happens is we just saw this with the New York Giants. I mean, their kicker has admitted to some pretty brutal treatment of his wife, and his employer knew about it. The New York Giants were aware of it, and the New York Giants mounted a very public anti-violence against women campaign over the last 2 years. They had some of their premier players like Eli Manning speaking out in public service announcements about why this is bad and why we need to stand up against it as players and as men. And yet the Giants had another player on the team who was doing it, and the team didn't do anything about it. And I think that's why you keep seeing these unfortunate and embarrassing headlines in the media about pro athletes and violence against women.
Yeah, I absolutely wholeheartedly agree. Folks, by the way, Jeff Benedict, author of several books on this topic, by the way, some of which are Public Heroes, Private Felons, Athletes and Crimes Against Women, Pros and Cons, the criminals who play in the NFL, Athletes and Acquaintance, Rape, also Out of Bounds, Inside the NBA's Culture of Rape, Violence, and Crime. Some great books, great reads on these topics here. But folks, right now, hey, you need to hop out there. You need to grab QB, My Life Behind the Spiral, Steve Young, of course, co-authored with Jeff Benedict. A great read. And this is totally opposite of some of those stories because Steve Young he's the ultimate guy on the field and the ultimate guy off the field. Just one of the nicest guys ever. Private guy, as you said, had a hard time even putting out, a very PG story, but an amazing story. And he kind of always shied away from the limelight to a degree, and just an amazing read. Go out and grab it. Jeff's website, folks, at jeffbenedict.com. jeffbenedict.com, an amazing author. Jeff, thank you so much for being on the show, and I hope we can talk to you again in the future.
Hey, thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too. Folks, Inside Real Estate, Sports, Entertainment, Politics. See you next week, 8 to 9 a.m. Every Sunday. We're out of here.